Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Creating Scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator. We are on part 2 of our animating a character. So last time we cleaned up our model. We added a armature or skeleton to our model. And we did some editing of our soldier here, removed his inner mouth if we don't want to get that detailed of animation. All right, so we just did some basic cleanup in our last one. Today we are going to continue, and hopefully we'll get this into the sim today. So the first thing, our next step, or first thing for today, is what we need to do is we need to verify. So verify the scale of the armature. So select the armature and look at the scale. If you've scaled last time, if you scaled the armature to fit the soldier, you're probably going to have some scale that's off. Okay, it's going to be, like 0.9 or something like that. But the scale needs to be 1. So select the armature, go to Objects, and Apply Scale. And it should change your scale to 1. Okay, now what we need to do is, if I select the armature and I hit G to move it, it just moves all by itself. All right, so what we need to do is we need to parent the body of the soldier. Hold Shift, select the armature. Let me get my screencast on. I really wish that would just be a default for me. All I have to do is save it, and it would be. All right, anyway, so select the body, hold Shift, select the armature, and do a Control P. And we are going to parent with automatic weights. Okay, the weights are, each bone, if you'll notice over here in our table of contents, now with our model, each bone of the armature is associated with a set of vertices in our model. Okay, so the thigh bone is going to have, let me go into edit mode here. Okay, so and let's kind of zoom in here. The thigh bone of the armature is going to have a set of vertices in our model that are associated with it. Okay, so this thigh portion of this left thigh portion of our model, all of these vertices are going to be attached to what is called a vertex group. And if you look over here, if we come down to thigh right or left, thigh left, the vertices in this area of our model are associated with this bone. Okay, it's called the vertex group. So when we move that bone, these vertices will move with that bone. Now, the vertices, each vertice will have a weight on how much it moves. Okay, and that tells you, like, if the vertice is going to move 100% every time that you move the bone, okay, it has a weight of 1. Okay, if you want a vertice not to move as much, let's say we move the bone this much, but the vertice just kind of moves this much, all right, that is a lesser weight of that vertex to move. Okay, so that's what the weights does. And when we say automatic weights, go ahead and apply, Blender, as good as you can, the weight of every vertice for that particular bone. Okay, so that's what that means. If you want to see the weights, all you have to do is come up here to where it says edit mode and change this to weight paint. and you'll notice that here are the weights for this particular bone, okay? The blue is 0, meaning it's not going to move at all. So if we look at our person, you'll notice that all of him is blue, and since we have this bone selected, or this right, we have the vertex groups for the left thigh selected, all right? There's the right thigh, there's the left thigh. If you look at the weights, if it's red, it's equal to 1. That means it will move 100% the distance that you move the bone, okay? And then in shades of red down to orange, through yellow to green to cyan to blue. Blue means do not move at all when I move that bone. And then variations of blue. So when we move this left thigh, part of his right hip will kind of move, which makes sense because it's connected in the human body. All right. His knees, there's a gradual change right there at the joint. All right. And you can use if you look at the circle that's on the screen as I move it around, if I hold down my mouse button and I painted across his weight, I can actually add movement to different parts of this this soldier when I move his thigh. However, we don't want his weight, so his waist to move. So I'm going to Control Z. Okay, but anyway, you can weight paint your model for little detail movements if you needed to, if vertices aren't moving when you think they should be. All right, so that's weight. That's what weights mean. So we're going to select this and go back in. Whoops, we're going to select this, go back into edit mode. Okay, so we have the skeleton, and we have now vertex groups assigned to the mesh of our soldier. Now when I select the armature, hit G and move it, our soldier moves with that, and that's what we want. Now before you move to the next step in terms of adding some animation, you want to test your bones in certain areas to see if you got everything of your model associated with a vertex group. All right, so we got our armature selected. I am going to go into pose mode, and I am going to pick his arm first, and I'm going to rotate that with R, and all his arm is moving. All right, it's not leaving any parts behind. All right, and I could do the same thing with this other arm. Hit R to rotate, see if all pieces are moving, and they are. Okay, and here's that thigh that we had before. We'll do that. Okay, notice right down here at the bottom. Now I can't, if I unclick, I'll move them. But notice between his shin bones, you see a little, looks like a bow tie type thing. That means part of his boot lace is not associated with a vertex group. So we're going to fix that. All right, so we got his boot laces to fix. So I'm going to hit escape, and let's move his neck. So I'm going to select his neck bone, kind of zoom in here, and see if any part of his head loses pieces. So we're going to rotate. Aha, his eyelashes. See his eyelashes staying in the same place? So we need to associate his eyelashes with a vertex group. All right, so that's what we're going to do next. So to do that easily, all right, so I have this neck bone selected. I'm going to select this top bone because I want to associate those eyelashes with this since they're right across from that top bone. I'm going to come down here to the bones, and that is spine 0.006. So I need to take those eyelashes and assign those to spine 006 vertex group. So I'm going to go into object mode. I'm going to select the soldier's body and tab into edit mode. And sometimes this is going to be trial and error, but I want to select, I'm going to turn on ghost mode here, and I'm going to select a vertex, and I'm going to hit L. And that did not select anything. All right. Yeah, there it did. Hover over the vertex, and it selected his eyebrow, his eyelashes. All right. Remember, I want to associate this with spine 006. So I'm going to come over here to object data properties, and I am going to look for bone spine 006, which is right here, and all I do is hit the assign. Okay, so now that eyelash is now assigned to spine 006. Now we need the other one, so I'm going to kind of shift over to this way, and I'm going to select this vertex and then hit L to select all linked vertices, and that other eyelash gets selected. I'm going to make sure spine 006, and I'm going to hit assign. Okay, now let's go down to that bootlace. I'm going to go to object mode, zoom out here, and turn off ghost, and we're going to find that bootlace. His boots come up onto his shin or his calf. All right, we know that, so let's go into edit mode and turn on ghost. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of vertices in behind here, and we're looking for something that looks like the bow tie or the bow, and I kind of see it. It's right here, kind of comes here. Here's the knot, and then you got a wing here and a wing here, not an airplane wing. Okay, so I'm going to select this one, hit L, and yeah, I got that shoelace. All right, so I'm going to come over here, and that is probably going to be his left thigh. So we're going to select thigh, find it first, thigh left, and I'm going to assign those vertices to the thigh. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with his right bootlace. I got to find it. I think it's right here. So I'm going to select this vertex, hit L, and yeah, it selected that bow tie there with L. And then I'm going to associate that with his right thigh. Okay, got to find his, there's thigh right, assign. Okay, so let's go back out to object mode, and let's zoom out, turn off ghost, and let's double check his eyelashes. So I'm going to select the armature, I'm going to go into pose, I'm going to select that neck. Okay, you can select the bone at the top, but this part of your head doesn't move separate. Alright, so we're going to hit R to rotate, and yeah, see his eyelashes are now associated with that vertex group. And we can double check our bootlace if we want to by selecting his left. Oh, I associated that with the wrong bone. I associated that with the thigh bone and not the shin bone. My mistake. So let's go back into object mode, select our soldier, go into edit mode, turn on ghost. Sorry about this. All right, so this one's still selected from our last one. Okay, so that's a shin bone, so we want the right shin. So there's the right shin, and we are going to assign. There we go. Now let's do let's do the shoelace on the other side. Okay, I gotta find that little bow tie thing. Select that vertex, hit L. Okay, we got it, and this is going to be the left shin. My apologies. So there's left shin and a sign. Okay, so it's not the thigh, it's the shin. All right, let's go back into edit mode and turn off ghost. Select our our armature, go into pose, and let's kind of break his knee and rotate that. See if that bootlace, yeah, that bootlace, it's not really going very well because it still lags behind, doesn't it? Okay, so let's select. I wonder if that has something to do with weight. So let's hit escape and let's go into weight paint. Whoops. Let's go into object mode and let's go into weight. Select the body, then go into weight paint. And I wonder. I'm wondering if that bow tie's weight is not exactly how it's supposed to be. So I'm just gonna paint here till that turns red. Okay. Then we're going to get back out, tab out, and go to object mode, turn ghosts off, go back, select our armature, go back into pose, and I don't know if this is going to work. No, it still moves slow. Yeah, see that bow tie? I will fix that later, okay? But anyway, it might be because it might be moving not proportional. I don't want to do that. All right, I'm just going to have to make an executive decision here. I'm not going to mess with the little lace on his boot for now. You can't see it anyway. We could have actually deleted them. Matter of fact, I think that's what I'm going to do, because you're not going to see his boot laces anyway because of his pant leg. All right, so let's go back into object mode, select our soldier, go into edit mode, and turn on ghost. And it is selected. Vertex weights, well, it's set to 1. They look like they're set to 1, so they should move the entire way, but let's just go ahead and delete them. Delete those vertices. All right, and let's do that to the other one just in case it's going to do the same thing. We're not going to see the shoelace anyway, so I'm going to select this, hit L, and then I'm just going to delete those vertices. Now we don't have to worry about our floating shoelace. All right, so let's tab out and turn off ghost mode. All right. So we have our guy. Let's do a save as, and let's make this one military soldier 2 and save as. Okay. Okay, now we're going to bring in I like to call it a template for animation. Okay, so we went to Mixamo and we found a soldier animation movement pack. All right, it has different movements that this soldier makes. All right, so what we want to do is we are going to import that animation. So I'm going to go to File, Import, and remember our animation is an FBX file, so I'm going to choose FBX, And I have a basic shooter pack in my Blender Learn Military Man folder, and all of these FBXs are different animations that you can make your soldier do. You can nest all these together and have one long video, but I'm only going to choose one particular movement that we want, and I want to let's have him. Yeah, let's just have him do a simple walk. All right, so let's choose walk. I think throwing a grenade would be cool, but let's do a simple walk and let's import that movement. All right, so here is our new animation armature. So with that selected, let's move that over. Okay, so this is going to be his pose when we start associating these bones with these bones. Okay, now the first thing that we want to do is, once we bring our new armature in, we want to make sure that it's scaled and rotated, that all the rotation and the scaling is applied. So I'm going to go to Object, Apply, Rotation and Scale. So the scale is 1 and the rotation is 0, except not sure that worked. No, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to do scale. I just want to do rotation. I'm sorry, my bad. So we're just going to go Object, Apply, Rotation. Okay, scale stays the same, and the scale for this, it's not important because we're just associating movements of bones, not their actual scale. Because when we start doing the animation portion, we're going to get rid of this template anyway. Okay, I hope you understand that. All right, so the next step is, here is the template for our animation. If I hit the play, you're going to see him walking. Okay, he's going to loop. All right, it has 250 frames, but the animation doesn't use that many frames. It's only using like 42, 43 or something like that frames. It's really, really short. Okay, but anyway, that's the motion that we want this soldier right here to make. So I'm going to pause animation and go back to frame 1. Our next step is going to be associating these bones with these bones. Okay, this is where that simple retarget tool comes into play, because what we want to start telling this armature over here is that each bone in our template armature, when it moves, I want the associated bone of our new armature to move likewise. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to shift and hold so both armatures are selected, and we're going to go to pose mode. All right, now we're going to choose, let's start with this bottom bone of his spine. Most of the time, this bottom spine bone is the root of all movements. Okay, so this is the root bone. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the root bone of our template, hold shift, and select the root bone of our soldier. All right, now we're going to go to pose, down here to simple retarget, and retarget root. Now you're going to see the guy move. All right, because now this bone in our model is in the same orientation as this bone in our animation. All right, so rotation, and translation is been retargeted from here to here. That doesn't take it away from your retargeting. Is kind of a weird term. Should just say target, because it's not erasing the movement of this. It's just basically copying the movement of that one bone. Now this is the root bone. All other bones are muscle bones. So we need to associate every bone with every bone in here. Couple caveats to that. All right. Our skeleton in our model has these breast bones, and it also has these hip bones. And if you notice, in our template armature, it does not have the hip bones and it doesn't have the breastbones. All right, you don't have to associate every single bone if they don't exist in both models. All right, so that's not an issue. All right, so let's go up one spine, hold shift, and select the next spine in our model. And we're going to go to pose, simple retarget, and now we're retargeting muscle bones. So click that. So the man has kind of moved a little bit, right? And if you'll notice, every time that we retarget a bone, it turns green in our model. Okay? Let's just select the next one. The next spine up, hold shift, select our corresponding spine in our model, go pose, simple retarget, retarget muscle bone. And you're going to do this for every single associated bone. So let's go up a spine, pose, retarget muscle bone. All right, let's go to his neck, do the same thing, pose, simple retarget, retarget muscle bone, and then the next one's in his head, which shouldn't actually move all that much. Yeah, he's cocking his head to look through his rifle. Shift, pose, and then retarget muscle bone. All right, so we have from his root bone all the way to the top of his head assigned. Now the next step is to do the same thing with his arms and legs. All right, so let's take a look. His left arm, you have this bone is this bone, this bone is this bone, this bone is this bone, and his hand bone, which is right here, is this bone. Okay, so you remember, select the template, shift, model, pose, retarget muscle. So that's all I'm doing. All right, I'm going to do one more, and then let's do one more together. So he's moving, and let's get this hand, get that hand, pose. All right, so this arm is now in the same orientation as our template. All right, now we don't have fingers on our armature, which is okay. Don't worry about it. You can add those later, and I'll show you in another video of how to build your own armature and do the animation there. But for now, we're just copying animation. Since he doesn't have fingers, we don't have to worry about it, okay, in our model. So I'm going to finish retargeting all of the bones, and I will be right back. Okay, I have all of the bones associated that are common to both models. All right, now obviously our template doesn't have a heel, but our model has a heel bone, but we're not going to animate it anyway. It's okay. All right, and again, there's fingers in our template, none in our model, so there's no association there. Same with the hips and the breastbones. Okay, now when I hit play animation, our soldier is now walking as well. Okay, like I said, it's only 42 frames long, the actual animation, even though they have 250 frames. But they have 250 frames because of all the other animations that you can add in here. All right, but we're only concerned with the first 42. So I can play that animation again. There we go. Okay, so our soldier is moving the way that our template shows. Okay, so let's go back to frame 1 and let's do a save so we don't lose what we've done. Now we can go ahead and turn off the let's get into object mode. All right, we can turn off our template. We don't need it now. All right, matter of fact, we're gonna go to scene, right click, new collection. We're gonna make that, where's my new collection? There's my new collection. I'm gonna double click that and let's call this backup. All right, and I'm gonna take that animation and drop that into backup, and we'll turn backup off. All right, now if I play animation, our guy is moving, so that's good. All right, so that's the movement we want our guy to make. All right, now with our new armature selected, let's hit period on the keypad so we can move them up. All right, with our armature selected, let's go back into pose mode. Okay, now the green, the color green of our armature means that those bones are constrained to the bones of our template. Okay, there means they're modifiers. Okay, they're animation modifiers. However, Flight Simulator cannot read animation modifiers. All right, so what we need to do is I'm going to throw a term at you. We need to bake this animation. All right, we need to fool Microsoft Flight Simulator about the motion of these bones, okay, for lack of a better term. You can bake materials to models, and you can bake animations to a model. In this exercise, we're baking an animation. All right, so we are in pose mode. So I'm going to go to pose, and I'm going to go animation, and I am going to bake the action to the bones. So I select bake action. Now it says frames 1 through 250. That's too long. We don't want to pause. We want it to walk and then repeat itself. All right, back and forth. Now, if you wanted in the simulator, if you wanted him to walk forward and then pause for a while, okay, and then the animation starts over, all right. If I just wanted him to walk and then immediately bounce back to the starting point, I would put frame 42 here, because I only want to bake frames 1 through 42, all right. But if we want a little bit of pause before it jumps back and loops the animation, we can add in some frames here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put 60, just a slight pause. I'm going to bake, whoops, not 600. I'm going to bake frames 1 through 60, so there'll be a pause where he doesn't move, all right? I uncheck only selected bones. I'm going to check visible keying, and I want it to clear the constraints. Okay? So I have my 1 to 60 visual keying and clear my constraints. Now, when you hit, depending on how many frames that you make your animation, depends how long it takes to bake this action. All right, since I have only 60, it shouldn't take that long. So we're going to click OK, and it's done. Like I said, 60 frames doesn't take that long. And notice that now all the bones have turned back to gray. That means all the constraints to the template have been removed and baked to our actual model. All right? Got to catch my breath. Now we're getting into saving the animation in order to export it. All right? So I'm going to select all of our bones. I'm still in pose mode. Okay. And I am going to bring up our dope sheet. All right. So I have all the bones selected. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go to dope sheet. And then I'm going to change dope sheet here to action editor. And what we're going to do is let's open up the animation and let's open up one item in our animation. Let's spine. I don't know which one. That might be the root spine. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's open that up. And we have, so the animation moves our object on the XYZ. It also has some rotation going on, and it also has some scaling going on. The thing is, we don't need the scaling because we want it to stay the same. Okay, things might change in scale periodically in your animation. In this particular animation, we do not need the scale. So what we're going to do is every one of these have a scale data property. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of those because that's just too much. We don't need those. Okay, so up here in find, type in scale. All right, and then close all these, select all of these keyframes and delete them. Okay, now we'll open this summary back up. No. Oh, let's get rid of scale, and it brings up our list again. And if I open up spine, notice that scale is now gone. All right, let's open up another one. Scale is now gone. We're not animating any scaling. Okay? Now what we need to do now is we need to name our action, and we're going to call this walk. So type in walk in this field here. And if you remember other animations, like when we made the radar and the animation of my Deep Space Network telescopes, we want to push down this animation to create non-linear animation tracks. All right, so I'm going to simply click push down. Okay, now over here we should have our animation tracks. I said we should. Where are they? Oh, they're up here. There they are. There's our NLA tracks, and it's called walk. Okay? So we have the NLA track walk in our model. Now we need kind of a default rest pose. Okay, and we need an animation for that. So we need to create another animation. And what we're going to do is we are going to reset a couple things on our model. we're going to reset our pose to the rest position or the default position, and then we're going to clear all of the translations, the movements. Okay, so it just stands there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to change my frame to frame 0. Okay, and I am going to hit Alt R to reset the position of my guy. His pose is reset to the rest position. Okay, now I want to clear any translations, any movements of the bones for this particular animation. So I'm going to hit Alt G. All right, so that is a movement. That is a standing still, resting default state. Okay, now move your timeline to frame 0 and hit I to insert a keyframe, and we want to set a location and rotation to frame 0. So now we have a keyframe at 0. Now move your frame to 1 and hit an I, location, rotation, and then move your frame to 2 and hit I, location, and rotation, and name this action default state. Default_state. And then push down that non-linear animation. Sorry. Now we want to go to the non-linear in our graph down here. We want to go to the non-linear animation tracks and see where we have NLA track 001 and NLA track. All right, we want to rename the 001 to, whoops, we want to rename this to default state, just like we called it before, default_state, and the NLA track we're going to call simply walk. All right, so we have that done. Now we need to do some organization to our table of contents here. All right, so we're going to create, all right, I already have a collection called soldier, and I have the animation in there. All right, so let's minimize this. Now I want to take this object, this man, and I want to drag him and drop him into the soldier. Okay, so I have a backup collection and I have a soldier collection, and everything that we did with the guy and the animation is inside our soldier collection. All right, and the only thing that's in our backup is our template, our animation template. All right, so we're going to uncheck backup so it never does anything with that. And I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to do a Save As, and I'm going to call this Soldier 3. Now the export is no different than any other export we've ever done. So we are going to come over here to multi-exporter, and we're going to go to settings, and I want to /texture/ all right, hit enter, and then we're going to go to include, and we want custom properties. We don't have any lights. And then geometry, we're going to apply modifiers just in case your model has modifiers for subdivisions, all that kind of stuff, which we really don't. All right, now we're going to go to objects, and we're going to group by collection. And notice we have our backup collection, and we also have our soldier collection. And I'm just going to hit reload LODs just in case. Now we want to generate an XML for our soldier, and we want the final output folder to be our model lib millman, which is where I'm at. All right, so I'm going to accept that location, and this is in our 5 alpha 1 work folders, if you remember. So I got 5 alpha 1 as my project, package sources, model lib, and then I created millman, and that's the folder that we're in. Now I also copied all of the textures that are used for this model into our millman folder, but I only did that for one reason, because we're going to check our animation using a Windows program, and those textures need to be in the same folder as the GLTF, okay? But when we use the animation for the simulator, I also have copies of those textures in the texture folder of our model lib. All right, so here they are right here. All right, now like I said, the only reason that they are in millman as well is because of this application that I'm going to show you to test your animation without putting it in the sim right off the bat. All right, so we select our soldier, generate an XML, the folder where we're putting the XML and the GLTF in the bin, select soldier, and then export. Just like any other export that we've ever done. Now let's go into our millman folder in our model lib. Notice we have a bin, we have a GLTF, and we have an XML. All right, now this is why this next step is why these materials are in this folder. So if you go to the GLTF and right click, you can open with the 3D viewer that comes with Windows. So we'll click that, and then I'll drag that over, and you'll see there's our guy in his rest position. That's animation 1, that's the default state. And then animation 2 should be our walk. So select animation 2, and there's our guy walking. So the animation is working. All right, so it should work when we put it into the sim. Okay, so let's close out the 3D viewer. Now we have to update, we have to make a change to our soldier XML, just like we did with the radar and the telescopes. Okay, there needs to be an animation and a GUID for that animation. So let's select soldier XML, right click, and let's open that up with Notepad++. And after the LODs, hit align. Okay, I found my template that I use for my radar, which gives me the format of the animation line. Okay, so I am going to Control C and go into my soldier XML, Control V. All right, and then I'm going to change radar to walk, because that's what we named the NLA track. And then I need to change the GUID, so I need a new GUID. So let's go over to our browser and let's get a GUID. So I'm going to type in GUID generator and generate a GUID. I'm going to Control C, copy that, close this, and we're going to go into our XML, our solder XML, and I'm going to Control V So here is our new GUID for our walk animation, and I'm going to save our soldier.xml with that change. Now, type standard, type param autoplay is the same as we had it, is the same that we have it for most of our animation. Okay, now the next step is, since I have this saved, the next step is to build our project. So let's go back up to 5 alpha 1, and here is our 5 alpha 1 project, and I have the new version, the latest version of the FS package tool, and I'm going to left mouse drop and drag that onto our tool. It's building right now on the other screen. Should only take a few seconds because it's not a huge project. As soon as that gets up, finishes, I will bring that across. It's done. So let's drag that. Whoops, wrong one. Let's drag that over. I got a warning, but it has nothing to do with what we're doing with. I'm playing around with the bear animation, and that's in the folder. Okay, it has a GLTF, but it doesn't have an XML, so I know what the error is. But I mean, it's a warning. It's not an error because it's yellow, not red. But what we're looking for is down here on the bottom. I have 0 failed, so that means our build was successful. So I'll hit any key and get out of that. Now the next step is to bring this all into the simulator. So I will start the simulator and I'll be right back. Okay, we've got the sim up. Let's go into 5 alpha 1. So there's 5 alpha 1 since I use it a lot, and we are going to choose a parking spot, fly. This takes a few seconds, obviously. We all know this part. Okay, we're fully into the sim, so let's go to Tools, Project Editor, and Project, Open Project. There's our 5 alpha 1, which is where I've been working. Hit open. And let's open up the BGL in our simulator. Load in the editor. Minimize our inspector. Alright, so here we are. Let's, whoops. Kind of come out here. And let's put in our guy if he exists. Alright, so let's go to Objects and 5 alpha 1. There is Soldier down here, our character. So let's select him and click 1 and add him into our scene. We can even add another guy if we want to. And another one. Alright. So we have 3 soldiers that we added to our scene. And our animation is working correctly. Now you can, like I said, animations, you can choose download animation actions and make your scene do whatever you want, but this is the basics behind it. So our animation is working. So I hope that you guys got enough information to start the basics, and then you can branch off and do more advanced stuff, you know, play around with the animations and create cool stuff for Flight Simulator. Just remember, when you work with your models, work in incremental copies. So if you make a mistake, you can go back one step and recreate the process. That's always a good thing to do with your models. So I hope you guys enjoyed these past couple videos. I know Frederick Pinotti Federico Pinati did these exercises as well. I got a little bit more detailed, explained a little bit more what was going on in some of his steps. He also, at the end of his video, talks about how you can have multiple animations with one model. So make sure you check out the end portion of his video too, because I'm not going to talk about that one in this video. But anyway, that is simple character animations, and the next animation video that I'm going to be doing is, we're not going to use a template. We're going to create our own animation, adding bones and things like that. So I will see you guys. I don't know if it will be the next video, but it'll be coming up in the next few videos maybe. But anyway, you guys have a fantastic week, and I will see you guys on the next video. If you haven't, please subscribe, and you can support me, buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld. We'll see you guys later.